Hi, welcome. If you haven't already, please like, subscribe, and turn on the notifications. Today, we are live in the Mindlin Wellness Center and interviewing Dr. Alicia Mindlin, or as a FIRST Robotics coach in the West Bloomfield School District, Coach Alicia. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well, thank you. How are you, Max?
You're welcome. I'm doing good. What made you want to be a coach or join FIRST Robotics?
Well, probably should say this first. You're my kid. Actually, it started when you were an FLL junior, and your team was asked to be at Worlds, and Coach Chris was like, "This is what we need," and I was like, "Okay, cool." And then I got to see all the robot games and really what FIRST was really about, which wasn't just a robot game. And I said to Coach Chris, like, "What do you need help with?" And he goes, "I need an assistant," or as he called it, a co-coach. And I said, "Okay, sign me up." And so I think you were in second grade at the time, or first grade, and I have been a part of it ever since.
When did you first hear about FIRST Robotics?
Well, it came in a flyer from your school at Gretschko, and I believe you were in kindergarten or first grade.
How long have you been a coach or mentor for?
I am going on 6 years.
What seasons have you coached?
All of them? All 6 years of them? That's a
I know there's Into Orbit,
Frenzy,
Great Frenzy,
yes, Energizer,
City
Shaper. There was a water thing,
but there was one more, Hydro or something.
I think,
Hydrodynamics,
yes. Maybe.
What teams have you coached?
Oh my God, it was the Husky Superstars, the Husky Super Dabbers. I don't think I did Aquabot Juniors. I might have.
I think you may have.
I think I was a mentor at that. Anchorbots.
Do you ever have anxiety while or before you are making a decision for the teams?
No, I don't think I have anxiety. I think I get overly excited about the game and everything that we have to do. And it's not a bad anxiety. It's definitely there's a lot of stuff that goes into it. So making sure everyone gets done and a lot of the hustle and bustle of it.
What is your favorite thing about robotics?
There's so much. I think honestly, the best part about it is watching the team grow, like the personal growth, and as you guys work together as a team, and kind of navigating through that. That's what I enjoy and truly love the most.
What is your least favorite thing about robotics?
The length. It's too short. I mean, we have off season and on season, and getting you guys to acclimate and move fast is probably the toughest for me, because there's so many components to it, and I don't like it. All comes in the end, and we always have a good time, but it's just, for me, it's a very short period of time.
What is the hardest thing about robotics?
I don't know if it's hard, but sometimes when the new season comes out, and then we get the video and we're watching the video, and then we get the game rule book, and then we have all of that, and then getting to know like what the game is, and then building the robot, and then getting you guys all together working as a team. I think that's probably the difficult part of being a coach.
What is the easiest thing about robotics?
That's a good question. Probably is working with Coach Chris. and being support to him. I think that that's probably the easiest part of the job.
Do you have any advice to anyone who wants to be a first coach or mentor or join FIRST Robotics?
Well, I got lots of advice for all of that. Honestly, like it's so much fun. Like I have a blast with all of our students and the growth process. I think probably is just jump in, ask as many questions as you can, and finding the additional support from other coaches, and really working together as a program, and really mentoring that aspect of it. The different phases as you've experienced are completely different. So the needs of junior are different than the needs of FLL. And then there's a big jump from FLL to FTC. And as we are learning too, there's a big jump from FTC to FRC.
What's been your favorite part to work with the high school group a little bit?
Oh, my favorite part about it? I think what's really cool about our program is the mentorship. I have been really impressed with our high school team, the Atomigators, and how they're always there to help. They work together as a team, and then they also help with like the younger people, like the middle school team. And that's been probably like the coolest thing so far. Just the amount of respect that they have for the younger teams and facilitating those relationships. I think probably that's part of the coolest thing. I like the fact that I'm no longer like coaching. I can be the mentor. So it's like, oh, you need this? Okay, let's go work on this. And I get to work with the students a little bit differently. And I don't have, hands-on isn't the right word. But I'm there more for advice, kind of like a mom. Like the robot mom now, like, oh, okay, well, have you thought about it this way? And well, what about this? Like problem solving wise. And really watching like how high school is really, you don't need as much help necessarily, but maybe it's helped differently. And so that's been really, really cool.
You're there mainly for guidance. Would you say that?
Absolutely.
What's it going to feel like next year when you are just full mentor and not a coach?
I think it's going to be really cool. It goes back to like when you first started, like, and fundraising and getting sponsorships and, help support the team, and which is stuff I really enjoy doing. I changed my schedule around to accommodate as a coach, and giving a lot of time. And don't get me wrong, I will give a lot of time to the high school, but it's just different. And so it's going to be an adjustment, but working with the high school coach, we've got a great working relationship we got to develop over COVID. So, really being a support to him and getting the robotic parents more involved in supporting the team. That's what I like to do. I like to organize.
What are highlights from when you first started, either as a coach or mentor, to now of each season?
Wow, highlights. My favorite times. One was being in the judging room and thinking, you guys don't listen to me at all. And then all of a sudden, like, I don't remember what the judge asked, but it was like, yeah, our coach is always telling us, like, take a deep breath and like, before we just go at it. And I was like, oh my God, they listened. So I think that's one of them. Going to states twice, once as being like the assistant coach, and then this past year of kind of being the head coach. And so I think that was one of like the coolest things ever. And how we got there. You know, we didn't have the best robot. We didn't get there because of the robot game. We got there because of the community outreach. And I think that's knowing now what the program is really about, which is community outreach and getting people excited talking about robotics and having it, you know, the different parts of FIRST. You know, gracious professionalism. Yeah, do we want to beat the pants off people? Absolutely, we do. Can we do it in a very gentle and supportive way? Absolutely. You know, our robot busted, and the two other middle school teams came over and helped, and we even had other robot teams that weren't even alliance or anything else, and they were like, "What do you need? How can we help you?" So I think that part of it, like, we all want to succeed. Yeah, we all want to win. You know, I firmly believe that because of the interviewing process and talking to people in the community about robotics really has helped with the desire for your YouTube channel, and you know, interviewing all of these people of something that you're interested in, and also making a difference. That our last, you know, we made a plan 2 seasons ago of how we could help a charity in our community, but also allowing kids to experience having a little bite, as we called it, a little taste of robotics to get them interested. And I mean, that was you and a couple of your teammates, and watching that progress. So, you know, it's the community service aspect to it as well. And that all came from this program. So I think those are kind of like, those are the cool highlights for me, is watching you and your teammates grow. And then, you know, and being able to be not just a parent on the sideline, but actually being able to watch that. And I don't know, it's one of those cool things as a parent and as a coach.
We also grew a lot, not only as like a team, but as a program to this season, which was also one of our goals. What was it like to see the program evolve into something of like 30 members instead of 12?
How scary as can be. So we've always talked about like how to get more people interested and how to get more people involved. And I was like, okay. And then there was COVID, and that's when we got to, like, you know, be with the high school team, so to speak, on Zoom, and those relationships. And then all of a sudden it was like, oh, wow, we're fully, you know, invested now. And how many, we never know how many people are going to come, right? Like, it's always a shot in the dark. And then all of a sudden there's this massive middle schoolers in the hallway of the high school. Oh, we're here for robotics. And I was like, oh. And that's when Coach Chris and I were talking, and it's like, okay, we went from one team to maybe possibly having 2 to, oh crap, we now have 3 full teams. And I think that was a really cool experience. I thought it would be a little bit more gradual and not just bam, here you go. But I think that also gave me, Coach Chris gave me the opportunity to go, all right, like, you know, this is going to be your team. This is going to be my team. This is going to be Coach Tony's team. And that was a whole other thing too. All of a sudden it's been Coach Chris and I for years, right? And Coach Chris, you know, not only being birthday twins, but we work well together. We have a shorthand with one another. What was a third person going to be in the dynamic? You know, and thank God, you know, Coach Tony is also a Scorpio. So we have 3 Scorpio coaches. But we're all working together. You know, I'm not an IT person. I definitely, I mean, I can build things, but that's not I'm a psychologist. You know, I want to talk about how the robot feels and that kind of thing. But I also like to fundraise, and I also like how to organize, how to do this. I can't organize myself, but I can organize everybody else. Coach Tony being an IT, and his passion of coding and things like that. And it was like the three of us came together. And so it was kind of cool because we had a big middle school team and we all worked together as a team. But then we had our like sub teams. We had our three individual teams, and overwhelming. It definitely took over relationships. It took over many nights at our house. The robotics, even though it was 3 days a week, it was 7 days a week at our house. And
Yeah.
and after everyone went home, the coaches, we were emailing and communication, and hey, what about this? Hey, this was a problem with this. So it was really cool to see, and it's always been one of our goals, was really to beef up and to get our program up and running. But scary as can be too.
And you didn't expect it to grow like this all of a sudden, just one time. And
No, I didn't. I really our off season. The girls are great. Competition and seeing actually young girls, young women who are involved in this now. And that part was really cool. And then just to see like, oh, they want to be a part of the whole entire experience, not just running a robot. And that to me probably also really cool to see that it's not just one of the boys. It's not just a boys thing, that it is young women who are interested in hard sciences and can compete with the boys.
We also are doing that event this year.
Yes.
And it'll be exciting to see who joins and what also happens.
Well, and that's kind of amazing too, because so we went from in the off season with one robot, and I believe it was 5 girls, 5 young women, and we now have 3 full teams. So we have enough for the anchor bots, enough for Wally B, and enough for Gator Gears, and 3 full teams. So we again go from 1 full team off season to 3 full for the off season for the all girls event. And that's it. It's exciting.
What was it like to be the head coach of the anchor bots?
Scary. That probably was, I would say, scary for me. Not that I didn't think I couldn't handle it. I just didn't want Coach Chris. I didn't want to let him down. It was easy to be your coach because we don't really we didn't spend time together. But having his child, and trusting me with leading that team was such an honor, and I wanted to make sure that I did it justice, because Coach Chris is amazing, and we are definitely different temperaments, and I just wanted to make sure that you guys got the full experience of doing it. And I think that was like, could I do it? Like, oh crap, like I don't know. It was just it was definitely an adjustment, but a good one. I loved every second of it.
I almost thought when I was doing it that you guys didn't even have your own teams. It was like you took care of the business side of things, helping anyone in need there, as well as helping out in build. Coach Tony was all like wherever code was needed or anything else like that. He was, and then Coach Chris and everyone else kind of worked in build, but I almost didn't see it as like any coach had their own team. It was like you all picked an area you were good at and you helped everyone else learn in that area.
Yeah, I mean honestly, and that's kind of like how it felt. Like it was always weird when I was like, oh, I'm the head coach. Well, not really. Like it's the trifecta, like, or the Three Stooges, which one you wanted to call it. And that's why usually coaches, right? We've always had the same shirts as our team. And we decided that the three coaches that we would represent the middle school with all three of our with the team numbers, which is why we didn't have a distinct shirt. We had one that encapsulated all three teams, because that's, when you only have three adults for 30 children, and 30 plus children sometimes, we had to divide and conquer.
What is your education?
What is my education? Well, I have a bachelor's degree in, I have a bachelor's degree from the University of Michigan. It's the School of Arts, Language, and Science. I have a master's degree from Oakland University in counseling. I have a specialty in humanistic psychology from the Michigan School of Professional Psychology, and I have my doctorate in psychology from the Michigan School of Professional Psychology. So nothing to do with robotics whatsoever.
No, but you were a very great coach.
Oh, well, thank you, Max.
You're welcome, as well as all the other coaches. You are all great as well. What is it like to be a therapist?
It's great. I love it. It's kind of cool to see into the human mind and human behavior, and something that's always fascinated me. So, like, not a mechanic and not a surgeon, but I kind of tinker in people's heads.
Those
so
are
to
just
speak.
hobbies.
Yes, I'm a surgeon for a hobby. Yeah, no, Max. But yes, building things, like, I've always loved doing that. And so I kind of, the brain is kind of like that, and how we store memories and how we remember things. Like, that's always why people do things the way that they do, is always fascinated me.
What inspired you to be a therapist?
I didn't always want to be pre-med either. I wanted to be a prima ballerina, and I got injured when I was in high school. That really prevented me from living out that dream of being a professional dancer. And I had never really focused on academics because, as we now know, that I have ADHD, and I just, that my head was in the clouds. I couldn't focus, and I certainly couldn't sit still to save my life. So that was kind of like my journey. And then I think I was 20 or 21. Well, back up. I bought a bartending school when I graduated high school because I wanted to make money and be in the real world. Because, adult sounded like being fun. Adulting is not fun. So I did that for a couple of years, and then decided I wanted to go back to school. And medicine, is what I grew up in, with your grandfather being a surgeon. And I wanted to follow in that footsteps and making a difference in people's lives. And I also knew that I wanted on an application to stand out. And so psychology, again, always fascinated me. And I started taking psych classes, and I worked at my father's office, and I had done that periodically throughout life anyway, and really just tried to get through school and being pre-med with it being a psych major. And I think it was my junior year of college. So I should say this. I went to OCC for 2 years. I took as many classes as I could. And they essentially, I had two teachers who were like, so you're going to apply to U of M. And I was like, I'm not going to get into U of M. So I don't know why I'm applying. They're like, but you can't come to school here anymore. Like, you've taken all the classes. Like you need to move on to a 4-year university. And I was like, okay, fine. So I applied to U of M Dearborn and got in. And I was taking all these classes, and I met some fantastic professors. And they kept saying to me, like, why are you killing yourself with math? Because I can't do math. To take all these prerequisites to to take the MCAT, the exam to get into medical school. And I'm like, but I really want to be a surgeon. And they're like, but you're really good at psychology. And I'm like, but okay, great, but I can do both. And I sat down with your grandfather and I said, Dad, I really want to go into medicine. And he asked me why. And I said, well, I want to take over the family business. He was like, well, that's not a reason. And I said, I really want to help people. And he was like, you can't help people being a therapist. He was like, you like figuring things out and making a difference. This is your passion. This is your, like, why are you fighting this? And I was like, because I'm going to be a doctor. And he was like, last time I checked, they had a doctorate in a PhD in psychology. And why can't you do that? And I was like, oh, okay. And so halfway through my junior year, I stopped being pre-med and started focusing on graduate school and seeing what I could do with my degree. And then not just being a therapist, but other avenues that psychology could offer. So it kind of chose me in a way, but it was always something like, it's not a job, it's not a career. I love helping people. I love working through stuff. And really how the world shapes us. It's all very fascinating to me.
The final two questions I have for you. One is, I know we're filming in your office right now, but where is your office located?
It's located in West Bloomfield. It's located on the corner of Orchard Lake and 15 Mile.
And then if someone would like to become a patient of yours, how can they contact you?
Well, you can find me on Facebook or Google search. But that's very sweet of you to promote.
You're welcome.
Promote the Mindlin Wellness Center.
All of you, the socials for your business will be in the description.
Awesome, thank you.
You're welcome. And I would like to thank you for all you do. Thank all the other coaches. Thank you for joining.
Thank you, Max. Thank
You're
you
welcome.
for the interview. Thank you for being a great teammate. And thank you for being a pretty cool son.
Thank you.
Thanks.
And thanks for being a great mother.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome.